We're going to start off by resetting the configuration. So you go to More, and I have it as a favorite, but this is where you'll find it, and do Reset. Click Yes. Just brings everything back to a known state on the oscilloscope. You should get something that looks like this. Next, I'm going to go to the configuration of channel A. So click here and click on Probes, Standard, and times 10. Okay, you'll hear the scope make a couple of clicking sounds, and then you should get something like this. So it's going to plus and minus 10 volts. So that means the maximum is 10 and the minimum down here is minus 10. Okay, so everything looks fine. Next, click on serial decoding and go to RS-232 UART. Next, and we want to decode on channel A. We have a baud rate of 2400 or 2.4 kilobits per second, 8 data bits, no parity, 1 stop bit, and least significant bit first. Once all of that's done, click Next. On our graphic display, we want to see the data in hex, but in the table down at the bottom, we want to see it in ASCII, and then click Finish. And then you can actually drag this down a bit so that it doesn't interfere with the waveform. And then click Running, and it should trigger, but not well. I'm going to set up the trigger now, so click on that. And we want to change the type from very basic to what's called pulse width. And then let's just set the threshold. I just want it to change, and now you see it lines up in a line. And we want to trigger after a period of high time. And our program has a delay of about 10 milliseconds. So let's just add some delay time here. And I'm going to set it up for 5. That should be enough. Okay, it does seem to be triggering now. I'll bring the table up so that you can see it. Okay, it's not triggering perfectly, so that's what we have to fix. So the next thing I'm going to do is the trigger point right now is at 50%. You can see it right here. And this time indicates a 1 millisecond division. But I want to have it trigger maybe at 20%, which is right at this point here. So I changed the pre-trigger to 20, which I've just done. Okay, now you can see that the trigger line is there. And it is triggering after a long period of delay, but let's have the time base change. So I'm going to make it maybe 2 milliseconds per division, because I want to get a whole waveform in there. To get it to trigger properly, you may have to adjust the amount of time here. So you're looking for how much time it's high before it goes low. And I'm measuring here, so from here to here it's about 5 milliseconds. So I can probably choose anything from 4 to 5. That all seems to work okay. If I go too low or too high, not great. So you might have to readjust this. That seems to work fine. And then I can also go into single mode where it freezes, and then every time I press stop, I get a new capture. Okay, and what I'm looking for is mostly the second packet. I'm going to ignore the first and sometimes the last, but you can see here that this trigger is okay, 41, 41, 41, which is the letter A, and all that seems to be okay. Here I've changed my program to output a string of characters, CAM8302E, and I've changed the delay time to 50 milliseconds. And I'm running in auto mode, and you can see here that this represents 4341, which is the CAM8302E that you see down here. Let me just raise this up a bit. Okay, and it gets repeated over and over again. So that was a good choice of the delay time. I probably can go higher with this one, but it's triggering on the falling edge after a long period of high time. So let's just review what we set up here. So here's our time base, here's our trigger, it's auto 20%, 2 volts positive. The other thing we want to check is channel A, and channel A is set for plus and minus 10 volts with a probe of times 10. Okay, now if we want to save this, you can go up to Save, And you get to save two things, your data file, and you can also save the setup. So if you want to use that same setup in the future, it's available. And I'm going to do that right now. So save the setup, and I'm going to put serial decode. Fall 2021. Perfect. And then just do save. And then we can stop the program. Or, sorry, the video.